welcome to my channel. What I thought I'd do is just to give you a couple of thoughts that I had on a book that I read recently, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and some moments in the book that kind of apply to psychic stuff, divination, fortune telling, that type of thing. Sometimes it's hard to describe what it feels like to have these thought forms and these images appear, and sometimes authors can do a good job of describing it, and I thought she did a good job in describing some things. First of all, my overall impression of the book was I enjoyed it. I kind of felt that things really didn't start to move until the last fourth of the book. Most of it was just, building the circus type of thing. But there's some good imagery in it, and it was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable read. And I made some notes of areas that I found interesting. The first thing was page 213, the fortune teller's sign. I liked it. Reads, "Fates foretold and darkest desires disclosed." I thought that was pretty cool. Now, as far as describing these visions and things, on page 258, Bailey, who's kind of an outsider who comes to the circus, meets with two twins that have grown up in the circus. They were born in the Night Circus. They go by Poppet and Widget, boy and a girl and a boy. And so when they're talking, and Bailey says, "So you can see everything before it happens?" And Poppet replies, "No, not everything. Sometimes just bits of things, like words and pictures in a book. But the book has lots of pages missing, and it has been dropped in a pond, and some parts are blurry, but other parts aren't." I thought that was a good description of these types of thought forms and visions that people see, especially when I do scrying. That's an apt description. I see images, phrases, almost actions like on a loop, like a video that keeps replaying itself. So I thought that was a good description. So as a side note, I could talk a lot about scrying and or crystal gazing, as it were. I started with using a quartz crystal and sort of using the inclusions with those imperfections in there. And it's kind of, as Ted Andrews called it, objective clairvoyance. And what you're doing is you're using your visual sight to look at the inclusions in the ball and have images form. It's almost like looking at images that clouds form in the sky. Kind of that same thing. That's objective, what do you call it, objective clairvoyance. And then I moved to a black onyx, this ball, which is very reflective, and it's meant to be a reflective surface. And what you're doing is you're using it as a focal point, and what you're doing is actually using images that you see in your mind. And Ted Andrews called that subjective clairvoyance. So a little, just a difference in that. To me, this is kind of where I've gone to. And there's, you can use a cell phone cover, screen, I think makes a good scrying. I got this on eBay. It's a pocket watch that has a black type of mirror thing inside. So so that's sort of my foray into scrying. And of course, if you study scrying, it's pretty cool. It kind of opens up the world to you. So everything is the world is your oracle, and you start to see, you start to think in symbolism and metaphor and that type of thing. And it makes whatever type of readings that you do using whatever oracle, I think it makes it stronger. So that's scrying, and they don't do scrying in the book. That's what it brought to mind with that description. And then on page 263, from a conversation with Bailey, Poppet, and Widget, Poppet says, Widge can see the past. It's one of the reasons his stories are always so good. And then Poppet says, the past is easier. It's already there. And Bailey says, in the stars? And he says, no, on people. The past stays on you the way powdered sugar stays on your fingers. Some people can get rid of it, but it's still there. The events, the things that pushed you to where you are now. And I thought that was a good description. Also, I feel that way with residual energy when doing psychometry readings. Psychometry is reading that energy that's left on objects, actually. Also, on page 491, in reference to the fortune teller, it says, she tells you facts you already knew, information you might have guessed, possibilities you cannot fathom. I thought that was cool. I would change it slightly. I would put, she reminds you of the facts that could now be of use, information you might or might not have guessed, possibilities you cannot fathom. And then on page 504, a conversation with Widget and the man in the gray suit, one of the major players here, concerning magic. He's waving his hand around at the surrounding tables of restaurant patrons, and he says, not a one of them has any inkling of the things that are possible in this world. And what's worse is that none of them would listen if you attempted to enlighten them. They want to believe that magic is nothing but clever deception, because to think it real would keep them up at night, afraid of their own existence. Which I thought was nicely put. I feel that people are conditioned by society to shut down their imaginations, their intuitions, as they grow older, only believing in what they see. So they put these self-limiting boxes around themselves, only believing what they see. But in this day and age with deep fakes and AI, you can't even believe what you see. And then later in the conversation, page 504 to 505, he says, he asks Widget what he does, and Widget says, I tell stories. I take pieces of the past that I see and I combine them into narratives, which to me sounds like a tarot card reading or some type of reading where you're putting things together. And the man in the gray suit says, well, there's magic in that. It's in the listener, and for each and every ear it will be different, and it will affect them in ways they can never predict. From the mundane to the profound, you may tell a tale that takes up residence in someone's soul, becomes their blood and self and purpose. This tale will move them and drive them, and who knows what they might do because of it. because of your words. And, you know, as a diviner or person that does this type of thing, I do feel that we are all storytellers in a way. And this idea of storytelling and finding the person's story reminds me of one of my favorite quotes. It's by Robert Moss, author of Sidewalk Oracles. And he says, "When strangers ask me what I do, I often say to them, I'm a storyteller, and it is my pleasure to help people find the bigger stories of their lives and live those stories and tell them so well that others want to listen." Boy, that is a good elevator speech. That makes you want to know more, right? And finally, on page 508, they say wine is bottled poetry, which I think is a nice romantic description of wine. Although I've had some wines that taste more like a dirty limerick, but I do appreciate the phrase bottled poetry. So that's my impressions of the book. She has another one called The Starless Sea, which I probably will look into. She also has a tarot deck based on the Night Circus, Phantom Wise Tarot, I think it's called. Anyway, I'll probably check that out too. But I enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed my little excursion into the book and some of the things that I've picked out. And I'll see you at another time. Thanks. Bye-bye.